conversations with the candidates, and we're so fortunate to have both candidates for District 16 Senate. Tonight we're going to listen to Teresa Gallegos, our Democratic candidate, and Breanne Davis, our Republican candidate. Huge thank you to Dog Ear Books also for hosting this event. So I'm briefly going to share the format with you. Each candidate is going to get 2 minutes to share their perspective on predetermined topics. My role is to just go through the list of topics and to keep track of time. And when we're all done, there is going to be an opportunity for you, if you have specific questions for them, after it's wrapped up, they're going to stay here late so you can talk to them one-on-one. Before we get started, is there any questions with you guys for what we're doing?
What is your name?
I'm Tiffany Henry. I am pleased to be here. I am a Russellville resident and District 16 resident, so this is really important.
I didn't know if it was an organization you were representing. Okay.
Nope, neutral party here. Just yes. Do either of you ladies have any questions before we get started about what we're doing? All right. Well, I will step back here and give you guys a chance to. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves for us and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Good evening, I'm Breanne Davis, the Republican candidate for State Senate District 16. Thank you all for being here. I'm really pleased about the turnout, and thank you again to Dog Ear Books for putting this on so quickly for us to be able to sit together in the same room and talk about how we feel on the issues. I've been a Russellville resident for most of my life. I was chairman of the Putt County Republican Committee 10 years ago. I've been involved with helping conservatives get elected for about 2 decades now. I ran for school board when I was 26 years old, 9 years ago. I just thought, I had a 1.5-year-old, and I thought now's the time to get involved in his education and be an advocate for that, and so it was important for me to jump in early and get involved. So I've been serving in that capacity for the past 9 years. And the past couple of years I've worked for a company called SAS Institute. I work closely with legislators, state agencies, and also governor staff, just to really learn and have a good understanding of government. And so I feel fortunate in this position that hopefully I'll walk in not with cold feet, but with someone who has a pretty good understanding of how government works and how the weaknesses, strengths of different agencies, and just being able to navigate the complicated world of the state legislature and government in general. So thank you all again, and thank you, Teresa, for being a great opponent and just being passionate about what you believe. And be able to sit, multiple times with me, sit down and just be able to talk to constituents about what we believe.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you, Dog Ear Books, for hosting. And again, thank you, Breanne, for sitting down and talking about the issues with us. I'm Teresa Gallegos. I am the Democratic candidate for Senate District 16. And I am running for Arkansas Senate for 2 reasons. The first reason is because the past few years I have become aware of how a lot of our leaders in government have been funded by wealthy donors and corporate special interests. And to me, that is unacceptable. I feel like our representatives should represent our community, the people in our community, and the natural environment they represent, and not be beholden to any corporate special interests or lobbyists when they're working in Little Rock. The second reason why I'm running is simply because the community asked me to run. Personally, I never had any aspirations to run for office. A few months ago, when this position became available, after, unfortunately, Senator Sandridge passed away, I was at home mourning the loss of my own father. And I was really surprised to hear a knock on my door one afternoon. I hadn't showered, I hadn't brushed my teeth that day, I was a mess. And it was 2 community members asking me if I would consider running for Arkansas Senate District 16. And I said, thank you, I appreciate, the offer or the suggestion, but, I'll think about it. and I went back to bed. That weekend, my phone rang off the hook from community members encouraging me and asking me to run for this position. I had no idea that the impact that my work in the community for the past 3 years I had no idea the impact it had made on this community. So I moved to Russellville 3 years ago when my spouse accepted a position at Arkansas Tech University, and since then I've been involved in the community, and I just really appreciate this opportunity to represent us in Little Rock.
Thank you, Teresa. Can you please share your thoughts with us on economic development?
Economic development. Economic development is something that's very important to our district. There are 3 immediate needs that I think we need to concentrate on. The first is supporting and investing in small businesses. The second is improving the quality of life for our residents. And the third is expanding broadband internet access to our rural areas. Small businesses represent 96.8% of businesses in the state of Arkansas, and they're 50% employers of the private workforce. We should help establish small businesses grow and provide support for new small businesses to start up, especially women and minority-owned small businesses. And we should begin to entice businesses to move into our district. If approved by the Supreme Court, I would completely support implementing the internet sales tax in order to level the playing field for our businesses in this digital economy. Second, in order to attract and retain businesses in this area, we need to improve our quality of life for our residents. Being involved with the Russellville Community Market as the president of the board, I have worked with Main Street Russellville and Mayor Randy Horton to move our farmers markets to a downtown location, and we're currently working on designing and building a dedicated farmers market space to improve the quality of life for our residents. The third is economic development in rural areas, and the lack of broadband internet infrastructure is really a barrier for businesses to be able to start up in our rural areas. So it's not just about cutting corporate taxes and income taxes, but improving the quality of our schools and our law enforcement, emergency services, and infrastructure will help improve our economic development.
Perfect. Breanne, can you please give us your thoughts on the same topic? Sure.
Thank you. I think economic development has really changed over the past several decades. If you look back over time, it used to be that we were trying to attract people to jobs. And people made decisions based on where they were going to live, based on the type of job they wanted to get. And today, we really see this movement and this idea that's been proven that people decide where they want to live first, move there, and then find a job. People want to, live in a place where they can have a good work-life balance, where they have things that are family-friendly, or talk about bike trails or great downtown, and just so you see state chambers, you see local chambers, you see a lot of organizations really in the communities just coming around and trying to promote a work-life balance and to bring people into the type of lifestyle, a place that they want to live in that represents the lifestyle they want to have. And then find jobs. And so I think that's important to remember in economic development in this day and age, that the type of people that we're trying to attract to come into our communities and really working together at a local level. If you look at across the district, 5 different counties are included, and the state senate position is the only elected position that includes all of Pope and all of Newton County. And if you know anything about Newton County, they're 67% federally owned, their land is. And they have some amazing things to offer there. And the same thing with Pope County. And so I think that this position could really be a person that could advocate on behalf of both Newton and Pope County and really find ways to work together. And I think of one example off the top of my head with West Vegas. You have so many people that come in for that half marathon that 37 states people came in from this year. And if you could attract people, if they're going to come from multiple states just to come to Russellville, maybe they'll come to Newton County too and see what is there to offer. And I think that just expands, what people think of Arkansas and what's out there, and can eventually bring people in, and that creates jobs and helps businesses open. People want to, establish tourism and different things. So I think just really partnering and working together with all the different counties across the district is a great way to really focus on economic development.
Thank you. Breanne, can you continue and share with us your thoughts on the natural environment?
Yes, environmentalism in District 16. And, for me on this one, I have heard so much over the past several months from farmers and farming in District 16. It's the #1 industry in the state of Arkansas. It's huge to people across Polk County. It is huge to people across Newton County. And so for me, I think, what better advocates and people who take care of the land than those who, that's their livelihood. And so I think it's important for us to be able to bring farmers into the conversation and just talk to them about, I'll give an example. CNH Hog Farm, that's something that's been under attack. They've sort of been battling with ADEQ. It's a farm that has 0 violations. They've operated well under the regulation that they were approved. And you've really seen sort of an uproar from farmers across the state who've said, we understand these regulations. We want to protect and do right by the land that we grow on. But we also think there's some personal property rights here, and we are worried about the boundaries that state government may be taking to infringe upon our rights as farmers. And so it's been something that I think has been a big concern to people across District 16. It's one of the biggest issues that I've dealt with and heard from people on. And so to me, I think that's something that we'll really be focusing on across District 16 if elected and sent to Little Rock.
When I moved to Arkansas 3 years ago, I was pleasantly surprised by the outdoor recreation opportunities that the natural state has to offer. And it's one of the most beautiful natural treasures that I've seen in the entire country. And if elected, I promise to keep Arkansas a place that will continue to draw outdoor recreational tourism. Just last year, according to the Arkansas Department of Parks and Tourism, the 5 counties that make up our district pulled in almost 2.5 million tourists last year. That spent $615 million in total travel expenditures. So if we allow our forests to be clear-cut and our rivers and streams to be polluted, we won't be able to continue to enjoy the massive influx of revenue that our district sees annually. Protecting the environment isn't only the right thing to do, it's the economically smart thing to do. And I'll tell you, I know this has been a really great campaign cycle, but in 2.5 weeks, I'm really looking forward to getting back up into the Ozark National Forest. That's where I spend my spare time, and our beautiful state parks that I will work to protect in the state legislature.
Thank you, Teresa. Can you please share your thoughts on food security in the River Valley?
Food insecurity in the River Valley. This is an issue that hits really close to home for me. I grew up in a single mother household. She worked multiple minimum wage jobs, and I had a younger sister at home that mostly I was responsible for taking care of when my mother was at work. I can remember going to social services offices with my mom to apply for Medicaid, food stamps, and WIC services. My sister and I, we received free school lunches in order to make ends meet in our household. And one of the things that I absolutely love about this community is that this is an issue that unites all of us, and we're all passionate about finding a solution to. So in my experience growing up in poverty and with my volunteer work for River Valley Food for Kids, I have a firsthand understanding of the realities that many Arkansans face in District 16. It's important that our state provide relief for immediate needs, but we really need to work on making our economic base stronger so that families don't have to continuously rely on emergency food assistance.
Thank you. Breanne, can you please share your thoughts on food insecurity in the River Valley?
Sure. Thanks. Sorry. Like Teresa mentioned, this is something that unites all of us, and this is one thing that is not a partisan issue. I've said, over the course of the campaign that there are some things that are conservative issues and or party line issues. And then there are a lot of things that a local seat like this holds that are not partisan. And so this is one of them. Arkansas actually, there was a study that came out today that said Arkansas is second worst in the nation in food insecurity and third worst in the nation when it comes to kids with food insecurity. So it's a problem that should unite all of us. It's something that we should all be working together as a community and as a state to try to solve. We've seen it in the local school districts. Kids who do not have food cannot learn. They cannot sit in a classroom and learn when you're starving. And so for a lot of kids, the only meals they get are the meals that are provided to them at school. So when you're talking about weekends or summers or spring break or Christmas break, then you're really talking about a lot of kids sitting at home without food. And so luckily for us, we have organizations in our community that help, backpack programs or food programs that feed kids during those times. And I think a lot of communities do, but not all do, and I know that we can do better. When visiting the Jasper School District, I saw their food bank, and it is just an extra room that they had in their school, a little bigger than a closet, stuffed with food, and they're trying to do all they can to help those kids who live in a very spread out county, there's not neighborhoods with houses everywhere. They're very spread out, and so those children, they're going home and they're traveling a long way to get home. And like I said, the only meal they may have may be the one they had at school that day. So it's something that together we can all do better as local communities and from a statewide perspective. It really is our future. These children are our future, these students are, and if they are not able to learn in the classroom and stay focused, then that's not good for their education continuing on. And there's a quote that said, education is the only thing that is a break in the cycle of poverty. And so for us, I think it's important to make sure those kids are fed.
Thank you. What are your thoughts on higher ed? Sorry.
Thank you. This is a great question. I think because the challenges are so great here in Polk County because of Arkansas Tech University and the inequitable funding issue that we're facing. I know that the state has worked out a new funding formula, but the truth is it still puts Arkansas Tech at a huge disadvantage because the foundation of that new funding formula is based on the old funding formula, which put Arkansas Tech University at a disadvantage in the first place. So when you look at the facts, Arkansas Tech University puts in more than $200 million into our local economy every single year. That is huge. And if you look over the past 4 years, UCA and UALR have each received $100 million more than Arkansas Tech University, even though our student population is larger. So there are huge inequities to be addressed on this issue, and something that I definitely plan on working on and helping take a charge on if elected and if sent to Little Rock. So out of the 32, there's 32 two-year and four-year universities in the state of Arkansas. Out of those 32 two-year and four-year schools, Arkansas Tech is ranked 30th in funding. The only schools that rank below us are Pulaski Tech and NWAC in funding per student. So you talk about huge inequities, this is one of them. And this is something that also I think is not a partisan issue. I think it's something that whoever's elected from this area really needs to go to battle for because it's not right by our students and it's not right by our community. And tying back into economic development, the thing that would single-handedly make the biggest impact on economic development in our area would be equitable funding to Arkansas Tech University. We'd be able to hire professors who would bring in families, who would contribute to our local schools, who would spend money at local businesses. The list goes on what it could do to really pour money that our community should be getting back into our community. Thank you.
Like Breanne said, this is not a partisan issue. When I first learned about the inequitable funding issue with Arkansas Tech, I immediately called Dr. Bowen's office and I went straight to the source so that I could learn about what caused this issue, what's happening now, and what we can do in the future to fix it. Like Breanne touched on, Arkansas Tech University makes up about 25% of our local economy. And after I met with the experts at Arkansas Tech, I learned that Arkansas Tech University annually receives the second highest percentage increase for funding based on their excellent performance on the current funding model. However, we're still only the 5th highest funded university in the state of Arkansas. And to me, that's unacceptable, and it's not right, and it's just unfair. The more resources that Arkansas Tech University has to repair its infrastructure, to rely less on part-time educators, and to hire more full-time faculty, the more successful the students entering the workforce will be. If you're not an Arkansas Tech employee or a student, you might be wondering how this issue impacts you. Improvements in our community, like the El Paso corridor, and will improve the quality of life in our area, and in turn that will attract and retain students and young professionals to stay in our district and to continue on as employees in our workforce, instead of just living here for a few years and then being pulled to more attractive areas like Northwest Arkansas and to Little Rock. So improving Arkansas Tech and increasing the funding for Arkansas Tech, it's something that impacts all of us, and it's something that can improve all of our quality of lives.
The next topic is K-12 education.
K through 12 education. So one of the biggest problems with education is that some people think that they have answers about education without having actually participated in the field. Recently, I was advised to put campaign cards directed towards educators in school mailboxes. And I sat down to write something, and I just kind of thought, this isn't right for me to be telling teachers what I think they need from me. I've never been a teacher before. So I created an event, and I've met with dozens of educators across this district, and I wanted to listen to what's important to administrators, faculty, and staff in this district. And if elected, I will actually spend time in our schools. I will learn from educators, staff, and administrators to learn firsthand about what's working well and to protect what's working well, and to learn about issues that need improvement. The proposed tax cut might add a few more dollars to teacher paychecks. However, cutting taxes would take away so much more from our public schools. Cutting taxes is an issue of priorities, and providing adequate resources to our educators is one of the top priorities of mine.
K through 12 education. I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to really learn a lot over the past 9 years in my work with the Russellville School Board. In 2013, when I was president of the school board, we undertook a community strategic planning, and we had over 40 meetings, met with thousands and thousands of teachers, staff, administrators, community members. We literally hit on every single community group across Russellville, just to really make sure that what the Russellville School District was providing was meeting the needs of the people in the district, and I think that's really important. So for me, I'm a strong advocate of school choice. I think I think education is a really personal decision to each family. So I support all the different choices. I think competition makes us stronger. But with that being said, I'm also obviously a strong advocate of public schools, and public schools will educate most of the children, across the nation, but across the state of Arkansas and certainly across the district. And what I've learned in this race is, the school, the issues that matter in schools sort of differ from county to county, but really this district is made up of small school districts, and to see what they're able to do with the amount of resources they have is just amazing. It's been really interesting. It's been a really good learning experience for me, because I've really dealt with the Russellville School District, which is a larger school district, and so the challenges that we face are different than some of the challenges of other schools across the district. And a lot of these rural schools are just fighting to keep their doors open. They're fighting to not have to consolidate. Some of the kids get on the bus The very first kids that get picked up on the bus in the Jasper School District is 6:30 in the morning. And that's early to be already out of bed, ready, and down a long ways to the bus stop to catch the bus by then. So you're really talking about schools who have been innovative and outside of the box in what they've provided for their students based on the resources that they have. And that's something they're very proud of. It's something I'm very proud of. And it's something that I'll continue to fight for is strong local rural schools across this district.
Thank you, Breanne. Where do you stand on state taxes?
Thank you. On state taxes, so back in 2015, one of the first things the governor did was that he fulfilled a campaign promise. And his campaign promise was to give a tax cut to the middle class. And when he did that in 2015, it was the largest income tax cut that had ever been done in the state of Arkansas. In 2017, the second largest income tax cut that had been given in the state of Arkansas was to low-income families, so low-income earners. And so I think he's done a good job over the years of really studying where we can cut taxes, how we can make Arkansas a competitive state with surrounding states and across the nation, but do it in a wise way where we're smart with the way that we reduce government, ensuring that we offer the services that need to continue to be offered, but also in finding efficiencies in that so that we can cut taxes and put money back in the pockets of taxpayers. I know the most recent tax cut that they're talking about is reducing the highest bracket tax income rate from 6.9% to 6%. And a lot of people will say, that's just putting money in the pockets of the wealthy. But if you look at Arkansas's tax brackets, actually the highest tax bracket in the state of Arkansas starts at $77,000. If you have 2 teachers in a household, they qualify for the top tax bracket in the state of Arkansas. So to me, that's not a tax cut for the wealthy. You're talking about people who are working hard every day for every dollar they earn, and a lot of them are spending money on their own classrooms and on students they have to help provide for them. But you're really talking about people 2 teachers in a household, and they qualify for that. So I think it's something, I think it's smart, and I think it's I think he's been very steady and methodical in how he's done tax cuts across the state, and I think it's been wise over the years, and I'm happy to see this latest one.
Okay, taxes. Not one of everyone's favorite topics. Doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat, when you get your paycheck and take it home, nobody likes to see the amount of taxes that has been deducted from their pay. However, we all enjoy benefits that are provided by state taxes. We all enjoy driving on well-maintained roads. We all enjoy feeling safe from the protection from law enforcement. And we all enjoy teachers providing quality education to our children. And the funding from Arkansas Tech University that we were just discussing also comes from taxes. The current tax cut that Governor Hutchinson has proposed would reduce funding for the state budget by $180 million. If you calculate that out from the typical earners in Arkansas, it would put a little bit of money back into the pockets of Arkansans, but the deficit that it would create in the state budget to fund the benefits that we all enjoy in our community, it's not comparable. I'm concerned about the recent idea that just came out this past week to increase taxes on groceries, which is a basic human necessity to offset the tax cut for the state's highest earners. To me and many others, it is irresponsible to cut income taxes and to increase the taxes on groceries while my neighbors are relying on going to the food bank to provide food for their families, and that many Arkansas teachers are working multiple jobs in order to make ends meet.
Thank you, Teresa. What are your thoughts on workforce education and job training?
Workforce education and job training. So based on meetings that I've had with educators and employers here in District 16, job training is something that we need to think about integrating into public education instead of thinking of it as something that comes after K through 12 schools. The problem is that our current education system is so focused on testing, 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 and more testing, and all of the stress that that creates for our students. However, we all know that even in this room, we are all so different. We all have different skills. We all have different learning abilities. And there are just different types of people in this world. For some, joining the military is a great career opportunity. For others, attending a public, 2-year or 4-year university or earning a master's degree or a PhD, maybe that's great for some people. However, providing technical and technical certificates and providing other opportunities for careers for our students is very important. I learned recently that Arkansas Tech actually provides associate's degrees and technical certificates for careers in automotive technology, welding, computer information technology, and culinary arts. The equitable state funding for Arkansas Tech that comes from taxes will ensure these programs will stay in our community and could prevent the need for frequent tuition increases. I was also excited to recently learn about the Workforce Development Center that opened in Morrilton just last week, and I would like to explore the possibility of state-funded workforce education to prevent those that are already at an economic disadvantage to incurring more debt for job training.
When I ran for school board 9 years ago, I debated my opponent, and one of the questions that I was asked was, do you think every student is college bound? And my answer to that question was no. And at the time, that was still sort of a controversial answer to say, not every student is going to college. We're not pushing every student to college, because that's the way schools operated for a long time. Was just really the focus on the next step, which was a 4-year degree. But the conversation has changed so much in the past 9 years. Now we do have a lot of people focused on workforce education and job training. We have people talking about career paths outside of a 4-year degree. And so I think it's exciting. It's exciting to see how the state chamber has partnered with Associated Industries of Arkansas. It's exciting to see how local chambers have been working together with our local school districts, and how school districts have really put a priority on working with the local industry to really connect students with industry to say, hey, there's some really good opportunities for you guys outside of, once you graduate this high school, where you don't have to go to college, where, you can still make a good living, you can, earn a salary, you can have benefits, and you can provide for your family. And so I love so much how the conversation has changed, even in 9 short years, to really show students that there are some really impressive career paths ahead that don't necessarily require a degree. And to be honest with you, there is a real shortage of skilled professional workers across the state of Arkansas. I think the Be Pro, Be Proud campaign movement that is the Associated Industries of Arkansas that's working with the state chamber put out a survey, and they found that 82% of manufacturers in the state of Arkansas said that they have a moderate to serious shortage of skilled professional workers in the industry. And so for me, I just love how we've really opened the conversation, and we've been open-minded to show kids about career paths and opportunities that maybe they would have never known existed otherwise.
Breanne, can you please tell us about working with other legislators and the governor?
Yes, sure. I thought I would remember not to switch the mic, but that's the last question. I still keep forgetting. Yes, I think working with the governor, having a good working relationship with the governor, is one of the most important things that a legislator can do to be helpful to their district. And so for me, I'm proud that I've had a strong working relationship with our governor really since 2005 when he ran for governor the first time. And so, typically when you're in the middle of a primary, people like the governor and others do not get involved in primary races. They normally sit out to see who comes out and then support that candidate. And I've been really fortunate and actually very thankful that the governor has been a strong advocate of mine and a supporter of mine since the beginning of my campaign. I just think it goes to show that he's cares a lot about what's going on in this district, in Polk County, Newton County, and then parts of Carroll, Van Buren, and Boone counties. I think it shows that he is really cares and is invested in what's going on here. So I'm proud to have his support. I think that's a really important quality that a legislator can have to work in the district. And you know, as I mentioned in my intro, the job that I've had over the past several years has really put me working with state agencies, all different levels of management and leadership, the governor's staff, and the legislature. So for me, I've been doing this for several years. I have a lot of good relationships with people down there in Little Rock, and I think that's only a strength that someone can bring to Little Rock to go just really work for this district and really carry local issues down there and advocate and fight for them. And along the way, have those relationships that are so important, not just in politics, but in life, and helping people see what's right and wrong that's going on in your district. Like we mentioned, the ATU funding issue. That's not a, yeah, that's good for District 16 issue. That's a right and wrong issue. We are inequitably funding our students at Arkansas Tech University. So for me, I think it gives the whoever's elected here a real opportunity to bring other legislators alongside you to really advocate for what's right and wrong across the state, and I'm excited about hopefully having that opportunity.
Since I moved to Arkansas a few years ago, I've developed strong relationships with current legislators in Little Rock. In fact, the Democratic Party of Arkansas Chair, Representative Michael John Gray, drove all the way from Little Rock to Russellville to have tacos with me at Guerrero's when I was deciding whether or not I was going to run or not. He drove all the way here to encourage me that I should run because he believed in my skills and ability to represent this district in Little Rock. Representative David Whitaker from Northwest Arkansas, he posted an endorsement on my fundraising page that said, "Teresa will bring fresh energy and clear thinking to a state senate that sorely needs both." And I'd just like to remind you all that this is an election year with many races facing opposition. There are currently 4 candidates for governor. Therefore, we could be working with a very different legislator starting in 2019 than what we have now. And then as for my working relationship with colleagues, here are a couple of endorsements that I received from former colleagues that I've worked with. My former colleague Jeff Mangold from 622 North Restaurant and Wine Bar in Blacksburg, Virginia, when I was working in college, he said, "I support Teresa because she is an amazing example of what our elected officials should be in this country." My former colleague Adi Noe from Polished Pig Media, I worked with her for 3 years. She said, "I support Teresa because she is a fierce advocate for the working class, equality, women, and her community. She is the future."
All right, thank you, Teresa. Do you have any final thoughts that you would like to share with us?
Okay, closing statements.
Yes.
Okay, yes, sorry. Yes, on closing statements, I just, as I mentioned earlier, I've been a Russellville resident for most of my life, and I've grew up in a family. I was the first one to graduate from college. I've worked since the day I turned 16 years old. Nothing has, probably like most of us in this room, been given to us. We've worked hard for everything we have, and so I am someone who is not afraid to get out and work, and I've learned a lot of lessons along the way about life and just compassion for others and what's important and how to really listen so that you can advocate for others. And so, politics for me, running for office for me, it's something that I've been interested in and something that I've helped with other candidates. That's why I said earlier, for 2 decades now, I've been knocking on doors and making phone calls and just out there for candidates I believe in, because I believe that if we don't have good people running for positions of government, then what do we have? And it's not a bright future if we don't have good people out there. And so to me, it's important. That's a reason that I got involved and ran for school board. It was important to be able to have someone who was passionate, who had young children at that time, Only one other person on the board had a child even in the school district. So young families and parents of young children were not being represented at all. And today, I think it's awesome that we have 2 young women that are running for office. In a day and age, you really don't see that often. You've got, the majority of women making up the workforce, the majority of women making up the population, and you have 18% women in the state legislature. And so we need more. And so I'm thrilled that this is what the election in District 16 looks like. So for me, like I said, I'm ready to get out and advocate on behalf of people. I love just listening, the stories and the issues that I've learned more about, issues that I never thought I'd be having conversations on throughout this campaign trail. And I love it. It's something that excites me, and just the energy of being around people and being able to hopefully be a part of helping solve issues in local communities. That's something I really look forward to, and I hope to be able to represent you guys. Thank you.
So I would like to just recap that most of the issues that we discuss here tonight, I don't think are really Democrat versus Republican. They're human rights, equality, and justice issues. And one issue that I'm extremely passionate about is campaign funding. And I'm proud to say that our campaign has been a 100% grassroots campaign. When I represent you all in Little Rock, I will not be beholden to any corporate special interests or wealthy lobbyists or wealthy campaign donors. I will be your advocate. I will be an advocate for our natural environment. And since we are here in a bookstore and I'm an avid reader, I just have to end by saying that I'm a Ravenclaw, whose favorite book of all time is The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. And this book, when I read it a few years ago, has made a really significant impact on my life. It describes the strength, resiliency, and determination of historically oppressed American working poor Americans, excuse me. And if you haven't read it, I won't, ruin the ending for you. But I think of that last scene in the barn almost every single day since I finished that book. And if Rosa Sharn could be as selfless as she was for the sake of another human, then the least I can do is run for Arkansas Senate as a concerned citizen to represent all of us in our best interests in Little Rock. This is why I'm asking for your vote. Early voting starts this Monday, May 7th, and ends May 22nd. And I'd also like to invite you to a volunteer meeting immediately after this event. We'll be meeting over at the Garage Arcade to get our action plan for the next couple of weeks. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you again to our candidates for spending the time with us this evening, and for Dog Ear Books for opening up. And like Teresa said, the election time is May 7th through the 22nd, so we hope everyone has the opportunity to get out and vote. Thank you.